And we kind of knew that when you get married, you put the ring on the finger, the father comes out and the mother comes out. I mean, we figured, okay, well, we had that pretty well done. But we had no idea that it was going to be overpowering. I had no idea that it was going to be change my state of consciousness. That I actually had this, I actually became this other person. I actually became my father. In some cases, I mean, at some times in emotional states. My reaction to the married state was what I learned. I watched how my father reacted. And it wasn't that good. I mean, for his time, it was, it wasn't the worst, but he was right in line with the rest of the men who, went off to work, came home, and had their, their house was their castle and all that stuff. He was a good man, he was an honest man, but not a very loving man. Not a very open, not a very sharing, So he had that, so you'd have that feeling of shut downness, you have this feeling of closed downness, Whereas when you're in love, you're open, and you're yourself, your inner self, your authentic self, your teenager type thing, we call it, was out. And everything was clear. Everything, the colors were bright, the jokes were funny, she called you honey, Then you wake up and it's like, your whole attitude is that, oh wow, she's only in it for the money type thing. It's like this strange pattern takes over and you say, well, who thinks that way? Why would I think that way about my best friend? And I say, well, there's a projection going on. There's the past coming into the present. This is what happens in relationships, where when you get married, things change. What happened to him? Where did he go? He's still there. What you think he is still there. He's it's a memory. It's a storehouse of energy in your brain. It's an idea. It's an identification that who you are, who you want to be, your higher self, we call it, the self that you want to be. You want to be, giving and sharing and strong-hearted and noble and a good provider and open, and great conversations. You want to have all of that. And it gets overshadowed because when you actually put the ring on, that ritual, it kind of gives permission for the shadow self or that of the self to come out. And sometimes the animal self is coming out, where we're dealing with sexuality and we're dealing with power and control and dominance. Not sometimes, always it comes out. So we're working at sharing power. 10 years of marriage, first 10 years of marriage is about sharing power. Just becoming so that you're sharing power with one another. The sexuality and dealing with what's okay and what's not okay. What do we want to do and how do we want to practice? Do we want to practice sacred sex or do we want to practice lust? We'll try them all out, see how it works for you. I mean, see how lust feels. By all means, I'm not here to be another priest or anything to tell you that, you shouldn't do lust. It's, lust, greed, gluttony, all those things have been around forever. They have consequences to them, but you have to find out what the consequences are. Some of them, maybe you don't have to find out, but we all seem to have them, they're all there, and you need to play them out and see, is that what you want to do? Because how does that feel, How does it feel to her? How does it really feel, And you talk about it, and maybe you don't, maybe you think it is okay. And you just keep it going, it'll emerge. The truth of it will emerge, It won't be something where, oh, I won't do this because, it's a bad thing to do. It's like looking at it like, I'm not going to stick my hand in the fire because, you don't have to give me a dissertation about what happens when I stick my hand in the fire. You say, when you study and you get to the subtleties and when you're really dealing with love, then you say, I don't have to be give anything up when I let go of this form of lust, because I know the suffering that's tied in with it. There's a bunch of suffering. Oh yes, there's this pleasure. There certainly is that, but that's the way it always is. There's a whole bunch of pleasure tied into it. So we identify with it. And when you identify with it, it has the consequences. They're there, It doesn't matter what I say. You experience it. You go in. And you do what you do, and you know, if you have a good relationship, you check out with saying, well, how does it feel? How is that for you? Is it good? You know, and then if you're safe, you really tell the truth about how it feels, and you start looking at that. And maybe you don't analyze everything, but I'm saying, you know, an unexamined life is not worth living. And a relationship where you can't take it apart and look at it, you know, saying, what are we doing here? You know, how's our love going? How's our sex going? How's our, you know, how's our identity? You know, what's going on with God, religion? You know, how do you feel about it? You know, I've married people, and you know, when I sit down and talk to them, you know, the guys, they're getting married like in a month or so, and I sit down and say, well, you know, what are your views on sex? What are your views on money? What are your views on God? You know, and I say that, you know, they turn and look at you and say, I don't know, honey, you know, what's your view? Do you believe in God? I say, what? I mean, you never had this conversation before about his views on God? Okay, I mean, I guess, you know, maybe that's okay. I don't know, but it seems like it's one of those things you might want to talk about, or your views on sexuality and what type of sex you do. I mean, these are things you talk about, you know. If you don't talk about them, if you just assume that, then you're up for a big awakening, because what you feel and what she feels, I guarantee you, are very different, you know. And sometimes she feels apparently the way that you feel so that she can be accepted by you, or vice versa. And all of that stuff comes out in the wash. It all comes out. You get to feel, you get to experience it. This is what a relationship is. It's a working thing. You work through your relationship. You go through the tough times. You go through the shocks. Oh, this is not what I thought before. Okay, well, this is what's going on. Is this okay? How do we? You know, you get through the compromises. You change the way you think. You explore. You enlarging your vision. You open up to the possibility of a creator, or of a, you know, of the universal flow of things. You let go of power. You open your power chakra up and let somebody else in to do that. This is all part of growing up in consciousness. This is where relationships help you to do, you know, the very thing that all the work that we've been doing is that thing of, as soon as you can get to this stuff that's in the way, these feelings, and as soon as you can learn how to talk about them in such a way that they can be talked about, you know, we don't know how to talk about them, you know. When we develop a language, you know, instead of saying, you know, you're a jerk because you did this. Well, you know, that's not going to be very easy to talk to. You say, you know, I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt. You know. When you did this, I reacted. That's what we do. You know, that's how we talk about it. You talk about it in that way. We have a system, a way of speaking about it. Like, I'd like to clear something with you. You know, I'm upset about something you did. You know, maybe you're understanding. I'm projecting abuser onto you. I'm projecting father onto you because, you know, this is what my father did to my mother. You know, that type of stuff. Well, it gives the person at least a moment to breathe, you know. You're saying, I want to clear something on the table. Okay, I'm ready. Get prepared, you know. You just come out and shoot from the hip. Well, you might hit the mark, but you also then, you always get a defense. You get a defense anyways, but at least you're working on it, you know. You're saying, we're not identifying with the animal self that just wants to attack and defend. That can go on forever. It goes on for lifetimes. It goes on for lifetimes, not just this lifetime. We do it forever. We do it forever lifetimes, is never understanding that what's going on out there is a reflection of what's going on in here. Well, you think that may not be true, but if you do believe that, and I could prove it to you, I don't have time to do it, but if you do believe that, then you get a chance to actually control things. I mean, you're a control freak, right? You want to control things? What you can control is your reaction. You can control your reaction. Not by clamping down, not by denial, but by studying what the reaction is. You can control anger by studying anger, you know. When I see that I'm angry when you say something, I can see that when you say something, something happens inside of me.